Alright guys, so as you saw in the last project, we used something called Passport for authentication. We also used a local strategy, which meant that we stored our credentials inside our local database. Now with this project, we're doing it a little different. We're going to be using Google OAuth. So users are going to be able to authenticate with our application using Google, and we're going to be able to get their information like their name, their email, their Google ID, things like that, even their avatar. So what is it? What I can't think of the word. Strategy that we're using is this Passport Google OAuth 2, okay, or OAuth 20. And the 20 is for 2.0, okay? It's for OAuth 2.0. So we're going to need to install this, and then this gives us a pretty good example of how we need to set it up. Remember, in the last project, we did passport.use new local strategy. Now we're doing new Google strategy, okay, which we're going to bring in through a require statement. Now this is going to take in a client ID and a client secret. So in order to get this, we need to actually go to our Google Developer Console, register an application, and we need to enable the Google OAuth API from there, and then get our keys. All right, so that's what we're going to do in this video. So I'm going to open up, you want to go to console.cloud.google.com, or just search in Google for Google Console. Now yours may look different. If you have no projects, you'll see up here I have a project called SB Dev. This is actually the dev project for storybooks. It may look a little different, okay? But what you want to do is you want to create a new project. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just click on that plus sign, and I'm going to call this, I'm just going to call this Storybooks. All right, and we'll click Create. So now we have a project called Storybooks. I'm going to select it. Well, it's being created. You can see the little symbol right here. Should take only a couple seconds. Okay, so now it's created, so I'm going to click on it, and now it's selected as my default project. Now from here, what we need to do is enable the Google OAuth API. So if we click on this little icon here and we bring this side menu, let's see, this has gotten really confusing in the past few months. They've added a bunch of stuff, but basically we need, maybe if we just search for API. Okay, so let's see, API and services. So this is exactly what we want. You want this page here. Now what we want to do is we want to click on enable APIs and services, and you want to search for it's actually the Google Plus API. That, I know that's a little confusing, but this is actually connected to the OAuth API. So we're going to enable this. Let's click on that, and we're going to click enable. And depending when you're watching this, they may have updated the interface, so it may look a little different. In fact, this actually looks a little different from the last time I used it. But it's going to be generally the same type of thing. You want to create a project. You want to enable the Google Plus API. All right, so once that's enabled, we're going to go over here to Credentials, and we're going to say Create Credentials, and we're going to choose OAuth Client ID. Okay, it's very important you choose this option. Don't choose API key. You want to choose OAuth. All right, once you do that, you're going to have some options grayed out down here. Before you can choose any of these, you need to click on Configure Consent Screen. Now, the consent screen is basically when you choose to authenticate, we'll have a button that'll say Login with Google or Authenticate with Google. And when they click that, it's going to open up a page that is going to basically show them, it's going to say allow access. Okay, do you let this application allow access to your Google account? All right, and this is the consent page. So you could actually add your custom logo to this or whatever you want, but we're not going to get into that. All we're going to do is put a product name, and we're going to just put in Storybooks. Okay, and then I'm going to click Save. You can also put a privacy policy, URL, stuff like that. Now for this screen here, we're going to choose Web Application, and we're going to want to put in here inside Authorized JavaScript Origins. This is basically the domain name. So we're going to be using localhost, HTTP localhost port 5000. We're going to go ahead and add that. And then down here, we're going to go ahead and we need to put a callback. So basically what happens is when we make the request to Google OAuth, it's going to need a callback to send back to and send our access key back to. So what this is going to be is it's going to be HTTP localhost 5000, and it's going to be /auth/Google/callback. All right, so we're going to be creating a route to handle this. Okay, so this is what it's going to send back, and we'll be able to get our access token and all that. So let's go ahead and make sure that's added, and we'll click create. All right, so now it's going to give us our credentials. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to store these credentials inside of a keys file. So in our application, let's go ahead and create a folder called config. And then inside config, we're going to create a new file called keys.js. Now in here, we're going to say module.exports because we want to be able to access this object from outside of this file. So we're going to have our Mongo URI, or we'll do URI, and we'll put that in a second. We also want our Google client ID, and take note that I'm using a capital D here. So capital I, capital D. Now for this, I'm going to grab it. This is this right here, this first one. I'm going to copy and put that in. Now this is just your client ID. This really isn't important. It's okay if other people get this. What is important to keep secret is this client secret. Okay, so what we're going to do is put a comma here and say Google client secret. And we're going to go ahead and grab this and copy it and put that in there. All right. So now we can just click OK here, and now our credentials should be set up, at least for our local host. When we get to our deployed application with Heroku, we'll get back into this. Now let's grab our Mongo URI. Okay, remember we created our database. So I'm going to go back to MLab, and this is the Storybooks dev database I created. What I want is this line right here. So I'm going to copy that. We're going to paste that in. And of course, you need to add your user and password. Okay, so we'll save that. So now we have this keys.js file with our important keys. So let's close that up. And now that we have our Google Console application or project initialized, we have our credentials. In the next video, we're going to install Passport. We're also going to install this Passport Google OAuth 20 module. All right, so I will see you in the next video.